Most complaints these days about connection and speed issues are related to the customer's in-home Wi-Fi network. The Wi-Fi features in TruVizion can help you reduce talk time in the call center, reduce truck rolls, and provide opportunities for upselling customers to more bandwidth or extenders for their home. This video provides an overview of the Wi-Fi diagnostics and management features in TruVizion. I'm logged into TruVizion and I currently have a customer pulled up. If the device supports some level of Wi-Fi diagnostics, the Wi-Fi tab will be clickable. I'll click that, and the Wi-Fi data will load. What you'll find is that not every device is equal. The amount of time it takes this data to load will depend on the device. This particular device takes longer to respond than others. Also, it will depend on the MIBs, or the data the device lets us query, as far as what data we can display on the screen, and what you're able to manage on the device. Some devices provide more information and more management capabilities than others. On this device, we see some information on the access point here under AP radio. This device has one radio operating at 2.4 gigahertz. You can see that the radio is enabled and is transmitting at 100%. It's currently set to channel 6, which is one of the three of the more common channels that you'll see on 2.4 gigahertz. We'll come back to this panel in a minute. Now I here have information on the SSIDs. This shows one SSID is active. I can see how much data has been sent, any errors, the type of security that's enabled, and whether WMM is enabled. WMM is Wi-Fi multimedia. It's a QoS setting that gives priority to multimedia running through the wireless network, like audio, video, and voice services. I can also click this box to show any inactive SSIDs. There's a menu here where I have some management functions for each SSID. One thing that can save a huge amount of time and frustration is being able to set a new Wi-Fi password for a subscriber, or telling them what their current Wi-Fi password is. For example, let's say the customer gets a new PlayStation that they want to connect, but they don't know their Wi-Fi password. You can reset it, but it's no fun for them to then have to go in and change the password for all of the other devices that are already connected to their network that will need to have the new password. If the radio supports it, we'll show you the current password here, and you can give that to the customer so they can set up their new device with the current password. You can also type a new password in this box if the customer wants to change their Wi-Fi password but aren't sure how. I can also change the SSID name for the customer if they don't know how to do that. In this case, the active SSID is Blue Beast, so it looks like something the customer has already set up. Often, though, the SSID will be something like these generic ARIS SSID names that you'll see in the inactive SSIDs right here. To change an SSID name, you just select that in the menu, type the name in here, and click Submit. I can also enable or disable an SSID here by going to Change SSID State. Just click to make it active or inactive and submit. For example, maybe the customer wants to set up a second SSID for guests, so they can create a guest password and not have to give out their main Wi-Fi password. You can activate a second SSID, change the name to guest, and change the password for them. The other thing I can do in this menu is enable or disable Wi-Fi multimedia if that's supported by the radio. Again, that's turning on or turning off Wi-Fi QoS for multimedia. Here on the right, I have information about any clients in the home that are connected. In this case, I only have the one SSID that's active, and I can see the active clients. I can click inactive devices and see any others that could potentially connect. As I scroll over a MAC address, I can see the manufacturer of the device. This can help me determine possibly what device that is. If I click this box here, I can drill in to see historical performance data for this device. This can tell me how the Wi-Fi connection has been performing over time. I can look at the historical performance for 24 hours, which is what it's set to now as default, 7 days, 30 days, or 90 days. Of course, a huge factor is where the client device is in the home relative to where the radio is. Probably the most helpful feature for troubleshooting is clicking the Live button when you're online with a customer. That way you can see how the signal changes as they move around the house with their device, or if they change the orientation of the antenna on the radio. Maybe they move the radio. They may have it in a cabinet or deep in a bookcase. Maybe they need an extender so they can reach the furthest areas of their home. This feature can help you find ways to give them the best coverage in their home. These data points are polled and plotted every 5 seconds, and if anything is transmitting, I'll see that here as the live data streams in. I can click this box to go back. Here under the radio panel, I have some additional Wi-Fi management features. I can change the channel the radio is transmitting on, turn a radio on or off, scan for other Wi-Fi signals that are nearby, and I can change the Wi-Fi transmit power. I'll start by trying to scan for nearby radios. As you can see, this feature is not supported by this particular device, so I'm going to pull up a customer with a different unit. I'm now looking at a different modem. You can see right away that this device provides more information than the other. And it has both a 2.4 GHz radio and a 5 gig radio. Over here I have two SSIDs active, one for each band, and I have active clients on both. When I click Scan Wi-Fi Radio, as before it opens a window, and then I click the Scan button. This will take a few moments while the radio scans for other nearby devices that it hears, which could be interfering with this device. Once that data pulls up, I can see the SSID name, the BSSID, which is the MAC address of the wireless access point, the model of the device if it's available, the channel the radio is tuned to, and the RSSI, which is the received signal strength that this radio is seeing. I can also see what kind of security is enabled on the device, or lack of security in some cases. I can sort by any of these headings if the list is long. For example, I might see that there's a neighboring device that's transmitting a strong signal on the same channel as the device I'm looking at. I could then go here in the menu and change the channel on this device to something else. But we also see that this device has auto channel selected. We're limited by what the device tells us, so if it's set to auto, I can't actually see what channel this radio is tuned to. But I can still manually change the channel to something else if I want. It's important to note that there's a lot of overlap in the 2.4 GHz band. In fact, there are only 3 channels that don't overlap with each other, and those are 1, 6, and 11. So those are the ones that you almost always see in use. If you're going to manually select a channel, you should set it to one of those 3. And by scanning for nearby radios, you can see which of those should be best based on the received signal strength from any other nearby devices transmitting on that same channel. There's something else to note about the difference between 2.4 and 5 GHz bands. The 2.4 band transmits further than 5 GHz, but it's also more prone to congestion. There's more overlap between channels, and there tends to be more devices transmitting on 2.4. On the other hand, 5 GHz doesn't penetrate solid objects like walls as well as 2.4, so it might not be as good as 2.4 in a larger house, but if you're in an MDU environment and you're seeing interference on the 2.4 band, it might be a good idea to disable that radio and have the customer use the 5 GHz band if the device supports it. It doesn't travel as far, and there's going to be less interference. You can disable or enable a radio by going to the menu and choosing Change Radio State. Just click Enable or Disable. Another thing you can do if you're managing multiple devices in an MDU environment is to change the transmit power of the radio. You might think you want the radio to transmit as loudly as possible, but that's not necessarily a good thing, especially if this device were in an MDU. There's no reason to be broadcasting a really strong signal into a neighbor's apartment. You can change the transmit power based on the access point's location and the customer's needs. Just open the menu and click Change Wi-Fi Transmit Power, and you can select 25%, 50%, 75%, or 100%. You might even do this if this modem is in a detached home and not in an MDU. Again, it's not always good to be transmitting a strong signal outside your customer's home. You may have noticed that when you're connected to Wi-Fi on your phone and you move outside your home, your phone may still be seeing that access point, but it's not able to communicate with it. As long as your phone thinks it's connected to the Wi-Fi access point, your cellular data won't work. Also, if a client is far away but still communicating with an access point, this can cause the speed for other clients connected to that access point to suffer, as the radio needs to work harder to communicate with that client. So, depending on the situation, you may want to reduce the transmit power to overcome certain situations like that within the home. We looked at the historical data for client devices earlier. I can see that I have, again, 2 SSIDs active and multiple active devices on each SSID. As before, I can click here to drill in to see the history of any device. I can also click the Compare box here to compare the signal from this device with others that are connected. I can hover over each of these colored boxes to see the manufacturer. I can uncheck boxes to take a device off the chart and check the box to put it back. And as I did before, I can click Live to see the performance for each device in real time. Again, this would take a moment since we're plotting data points only every 5 seconds or so. Finally, I can click here to return to the main Wi-Fi diagnostic screen. There you have it. As you can see, the Wi-Fi features in TruVision can be of great help when troubleshooting or managing your customer's Wi-Fi connection. It will help you resolve issues faster and provide a better Wi-Fi experience for your subscribers.